Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayanti Nashtaprayesha Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So, continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 47, the Song of the Bee, text number 15 onwards. So, yesterday we discussed how Uddhavji came to Vrindavan and gopis saw him in the morning, and they brought him to a secluded place to listen to his message what Krishna has given. And then they were talking, and Srimati Radharani then saw a bumblebee, black bumblebee, which reminded her of Krishna. And she started speaking to the bumblebee in a complaining way. So she further says, Divi bhuvicha rasayam kastriyas tad urapa kapat ruchir has bhru vijrimbhasya yayayu charana rajupasate yasya bhutir vayamaka api chakripan pakshe hi uttama shloka shabdaha. In heaven, on earth, or in the subterranean sphere, what women are unavailable to him? He simply arches his eyebrows and smiles with deceptive charm, and they all become his. The Supreme Goddess herself worships the dust of his feet. So, what is our position in comparison? But at least those who are wretched can chant his name, Uttam Shloka. So he is Uttam Shloka. So she's expressing her frustration, her separation, her love, everything is there in these verses. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that Radharani's speech expressing all the feelings of a disappointed lover indicates an intensity of love for Shri Krishna, surpassing even that of the goddess of fortune. While all the gopis are perfectly compatible with Shri Krishna in terms of their beauty, temperament, and so on, Srimati Radharani is especially so. In a forlorn state, Radharani indicates to Krishna, you're called Uttam Shloka because you're merciful to the wretched and fallen. But if you would be merciful to me, then you would actually deserve this exalted name. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur further points out that in this verse, Srimati Radharani expresses her spite, born of pride, accuses Krishna of being a cheater, and finds fault with this behavior. Thus, this verse contains a speech known as Ujjalpa, as described in the following verse of Ujjwal Nilamani. The declaration of Lord Hari's duplicitous nature in a mood of spite, born of pride, together with jealousy spoken, insults directed against him, has been termed Ujjalpa by the wise. So this background picture that I've chosen, actually this picture is of Ramar Geet. Radharani is speaking to this bumblebee. You cannot see that bumblebee, but that's what she's looking at and speaking to, that bumblebee. And also, going through these verses, what Srimati Radharani is speaking for Krishna, she can speak in this way. She has full authority, full control over Krishna, so much of love. We don't. We cannot speak in this way. So we have to speak very respectfully for Krishna. But it's good to, first of all, it's in Srimad Bhagavatam, so it's good to read this and try to even get some appreciation for love of Radharani for Krishna, and then what kind of love gopis have for Krishna. That we can appreciate. Visraj shirasi padam veda bhayaham chatukares anunay vidushaste abhyetya dotyar mukundat Swakrit ihi vishrishta patya patanya loka vyasrijat krit cheta kimnu sandhema asmin. Keep your head off my feet. So B must have gone to Radharani's feet. I know what you're doing. You expertly learned this diplomacy from Mukunda, and now you come as his messenger with flattering words. But he abandoned those who, for his sake alone, gave up their children, husbands, and all other relations. He's simply ungrateful. Why should I make up with him now? According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this verse illustrates the qualities of Sanjalpa, as described by Srila Rupa Goswami in Ujjwal Nilamani. The learned disciple Sanjalpa, the learned describes Sanjalpa as that speech which decries with deep irony and insulting gestures the beloved's ungratefulness, and so on. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that the word Adi and so on implies a perception in one's lover of hard-heartedness, of an inimical attitude, and of a complete lack of love. Mrigyurev kapindram vivyadhe lubdha dharma striyam akrit virupam srijita kamyanasam balim api balimatvab veshta yad dvangshvadyas tadlam sit sakhyar dustejast tatkatartah. Like a hunter, he cruelly shot the king of the monkeys with arrows because he was conquered by a woman. He disfigured another woman who came to him with lusty desires. And even after consuming the gifts of Bali Maharaj, he bound him up with ropes as if he were a crow. So let us give up all friendship with this dark complexioned boy, even if we can't give up talking about him. So Radharani is remembering some of the past times. In Krishna book, Prabhupada explains, Srimati Radharani said to the bee, "You poor messenger, you are only a less intelligent servant. You do not know much about Krishna, how ungrateful and hard-hearted he has been, not only in this life, but in previous lives also. We have heard this from our grandmother, Purnamasi. She has informed us that Krishna was born in a Kshatriya family previous to this birth, and was known as Ramachandra. In that birth, instead of killing Vali, an enemy of his friend, in the manner of a Kshatriya, he killed him just like a hunter. A hunter takes a secure hiding place and then kills an animal without facing it. So Lord Ramchandra, as a Kshatriya, should have fought with Vali face to face. But instigated by his friend, he killed him from behind a tree. Thus he deviated from the religious principles of a Kshatriya. Also, he was so attracted by the beauty of Sita that he converted Shubhnaka, the sister of Ravan, into an ugly woman by cutting off her nose and ears. Shubhnaka proposed an intimate relationship with him, and as a Kshatriya, he should have satisfied her. But he was so henpecked by his wife that he could not forget Sita Devi and converted Shubhnaka into an ugly woman. Before that birth as a Kshatriya, he took birth as a Brahmin boy known as Vamandev and asked charity from Bali Maharaj. Bali was so magnanimous that he gave him whatever he had, yet Krishna, as Vamandev, ungratefully arrested him, just like a crow, and pushed him down to the Patal kingdom. We know all about Krishna and how ungrateful he is. But here is the difficulty. In spite of his being so cruel and hard-hearted, it's very difficult for us to give up talking about him. So, so many stories of ungratefulness. But these are gopis, and especially this is Srimati Radharani, and she can talk whichever way she wants to. So they are saying he is so ungrateful, and every time he takes birth, he does these activities, and he just does everything against the scriptures, and he is ungrateful. So cannot be with him, but we cannot stop talking about him. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that this speech of Radharani is called Avajalpa. Saintly persons have concluded that when a lover, impelled by jealousy and fear, declares that Lord Hari is unworthy of her attachment because of his harshness, lustiness, and dishonesty, such speech is called Avajalpa. Yad anucharit leela karna piyush viprat sakrid navidhut tvandva dharma vinashta sapadi griha kutumbam deenam utsrijya deena bhav evihanga bhikshu charyam charanti. To hear about the pastimes that Krishna regularly performs as nectar for the ears. For those who relish just a single drop of this nectar, even once, their dedication to material quality is ruined. So just listening to even a single drop of the nectar of Krishna Katha, it just ruins our dedication to material duality or materialism. Many such persons have suddenly given up their wretched homes and families and themselves becoming wretched, traveled here to Vrindavan to wander about like birds begging for their living. Material duality is based on falsely thinking, this is mine and that is yours, or this is our country and that is yours, or this is my family and that is yours, and so on. In fact, there is one absolute truth in which we all exist and to whom everything belongs. His beauty and pleasure are also absolute and infinite. And if one actually hears about this absolute truth called Krishna, one's dedication to the illusion of mundane duality is spoiled. This is how Krishna Prem, Krishna Katha, Krishna Nam, Krishna Seva work. Just takes us completely out of material duality, the world of material duality, illusion, materialism is gone. According to the Acharyas, and certainly in accord with Sanskrit grammar, the last two words of the second line of this text may also be divided dharma avinishta. Then the entire line becomes part of a single compound, the meaning of which is that hearing about Krishna cleanses one of irreligious duality, and thus one is not vanquished by material illusion. The word Dina is then given the alternate reading of Dhira, meaning that one becomes spiritually sober and thus gives up attachment to fleeting material relationship. The word Vihanga, birds, would in this case refer to swans, a symbol of essential discrimination. So, different ways Sanskrit text can be read. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes Rupa Goswami as follows: when a lover indirectly states with remorse that a beloved is fit to be given up, such speech uttered like the plaintive crying of a bird is called Abhijalpa. Vayamritam iva jivya hritam shraddhan kuli karutam ivagya Krishna vadho harinya dadrishur asakrid te tannak sparshativra smararuj upamantrina bhanyata manyavarta. Faithfully taking his deceitful words as true, we became just like the black deer's foolish wives, who trusted the cruel hunter's song. Thus we repeatedly felt the sharp pain of lust caused by the touch of his nails. O messenger, please talk about something besides Krishna. The bee is not saying anything, it's only Radharani talking. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur categorizes this statement of Srimati Radharani as Ajalpa, a statement spoken in disgust describing how the male lover is deceitful and brings one misery, and also implying that he gives happiness to others is called Ajalpa. Priyasakha punaraga priyasa preshitah kim varaya kim anurundhe Mananiyo asi mayanga. Nayasi katham ihasman dustyajya dvandva parshvam. Satatam urasi soumya shrir vadhu sakamaste. O friend of my dear one, has my beloved sent you here again? I should honor you, friend. So please choose whatever boon you wish. But why have you come back here to take us to him, whose conjugal love is so difficult to give up? After all, gentle be his consort, his goddess Shri, and she is always with him, staying upon his chest. In Krishna book, Prabhupada talks, while Radharani was talking with the bee and the bee was flying hither and thither, it all of a sudden disappeared from her sight. She was in full mourning due to separation from Krishna and felt ecstasy by talking with the bee. But as soon as the bee disappeared, she became almost mad, thinking that the messenger bee might have returned to Krishna to inform him all about her talking against him. Krishna must be very sorry to hear it, she thought. In this way, she was overwhelmed by another type of ecstasy. In the meantime, the bee flying hither and thither appeared before her again. She thought, oh, Krishna is still kind to me. In spite of the messengers carrying disruptive messages, he is so kind that he has again sent the bee to take me to him. Srimati Radharani was very careful this time not to say anything against Krishna. See, this mood of Radharani, even if everything, the bee was sent by Krishna, and just because the bee disappeared for a while, bee cannot go back all the way back to Mathura and come back to Vrindavan just like that. But this is how the personification of love walks. The path of love is always very crooked. It's not straight at all. Logic doesn't work here. Not at all. This is the innermost mood, innermost feelings of Srimati Radharani that she's pouring out. And she just cannot think straight in separation from Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the goddess of fortune, Shri, has the power to assume many different forms. Thus, when Krishna enjoys other women, she stays on his chest in the form of a golden lion. When he is not consorting with other women, she puts aside this form and gives him pleasure in her naturally beautiful form of a young woman. So, this is a statement of Srimati Radharani. Expression is Prati Jalpa. When the lover humbly states that although she is unworthy of attaining her beloved, she cannot give up hoping for a conjugal relationship with him. Such words, spoken with respect for her beloved's message, are called Prati Jalpa. Here, Srimati Radharani has given up her harsh feelings and humbly acknowledges the greatness of Sri Krishna. See how the mood changed. Apibat madhupuryam are putro adhunaste smarati sapitri gehan somme bandhunsya sogopan kvachid api sakatha na kinkarinam grinite bhujam guru sugandham murdhanya dhasya tat kadano. Oh, Uddhav, it is indeed regrettable that Krishna resides in Mathura. Does he remember his father's household affairs and his friends, the cowherd boys? Oh, great soul, does he ever talk about us, his maidservants? When will he lay on our heads his aguru-scented hand? The translation and word meaning for this verse are taken from Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes very poetically with deep spiritual insight about the emotions expressed in this and the previous 9 verses. He interprets Radharani's feelings as follows. Srimati Radharani thought, Since Krishna was once satisfied in Braj but left for Mathura city, won't he also develop a desire to leave that place and go somewhere else? Mathura is so close to Vrindavan that it's possible he may even come back here. Krishna is the son of a respectable gentleman, Nanda Maharaj, so he must be staying in Mathura because of a sense of obligation to his father, who authorized his going there. On the other hand, while Nanda's whole life is dedicated exclusively to Krishna, Nanda Baba is so innocent that he allowed himself to be tricked by the Yadus, who brought Krishna to Mathura. Krishna must be thinking, alas, alas, since even my father could not bring me back to Braja, what can I do to return there? Thus, Krishna must be impatient to come back here, and so he has sent you, the messenger. It's only because Nanda Baba is so innocent that he allowed his son to leave. If Nanda Baba had allowed Krishna's mother, the queen of Raja, to do so, she would have climbed onto Akrura's chariot and holding her son by the neck gone off to Mathura with him, followed by all the gopis. But this was not possible. So she's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is thinking that Radharani must be saying that, oh, Nanda Baba is very innocent. He just allowed his son to leave. Yashoda Maya wouldn't have done that. Ever since Krishna left, Nanda has been stunned by separation from him. In Nanda Baba's treasury rooms, storehouses, kitchens, sleeping quarters, opulent houses, and so on are now vacant. Unswept and uncleansed, they are littered with grass, dust, leaves, and cobwebs. Does Krishna ever remember his father's houses? And does he sometimes remember Subal and his other friends who are now lying stunned in other neglected houses? The women in Mathura who now associate with Krishna cannot know how to serve him in the way that pleases him most. When they see he's not satisfied and ask how can they make him happy, does he tell them about us, the gopis? So this purport goes on. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, it is virtually only within the princess of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani, that the ecstasy of bewilderment arises. She has attained to a special stage of this bewilderment, a wonderful state that resembles delusion. It's pretty much delusion, known as Divyonamad. It has many aspects which come and go unsteadily. And one of these manifestations is Chitra Jalpa. This talk, induced by her seeing her beloved's friend, is filled with coward anger and comprises many different excesses. It culminates in her intense, anxious eagerness. So this Chitra Jalpa has 10 divisions. So we went through all Prajalpa, Parijalpa, Vijalpa, Ujjalpa, Sanjalpa, Avajalpa, Abhijalpa, Ajalpa, Pratijalpa, and Sujalpa. Finally, some authorities say that Krishna himself, eager to drink the sweetness of his beloved's speech, assumed the form of the messenger bee. So some say Krishna himself came as this Brahmar bee. Shri Shukvacha Athodhavo Nishamyavam Krishna Darshana Lalsa Santavyan Priya Sandesha Gopi Ridam Abhashata. Shukdev Goswami said, having heard this, Uddhav then tried to pacify the gopis who were most eager to see Lord Krishna. He thus began relating to them the message of their beloved. Shri Uddhava Vacha Aho Yuyam Sma Puranartha Bhavatyo Loka Pujita Vasudeva Bhagavati Yasam Iti Arpitam Manaha. Shri Uddhav said, certainly you gopis are all successful and are universally worshipped because you have dedicated your minds in this way to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Although other devotees have certainly surrendered their minds unto the Lord, gopis are unique in the intensity of their love. Nobody has that kind of intensity. दानव्रत तपोहोमं जप स्वाध्यायं संयम श्रेयोभिर्विविधैश्चान्य कृष्णे भक्तिर्हि साध्यते. Devotional service unto Lord Krishna is attained by charity, strict vows, austerities, and fire sacrifices, by japa, study of Vedic texts, observance of regulatory principles, and indeed by the performance of many other auspicious practices. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains the processes described here as follows. Dan, donations given to Lord Vishnu and his devotees. Vrata, observing vows such as Ekadashi. Tapas, renunciation of sense gratification for Krishna's sake. Homa, fire sacrifices dedicated to Vishnu. Japa, means privately chanting the holy names of the Lord. Swadhyaya, study and recitation of Vedic texts such as Gopal, Tapani, Upanishad, and Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhavati Anutama Bhakti Pravartita Dishtiha Muninam Api Turlabha. By your great fortune, you have established an unexcelled standard of pure devotion for the Lord. Uttam Shloka, a standard even the sages can hardly attain. The word Pravrita indicates that the gopis brought to this world a standard of pure love of God that was previously unknown on the earth. Thus, Uddhav congratulates them on their unparalleled contribution to the religious life. So Uddhav ji, whatever he knows about bhakti, okay, this is how we do bhakti, do some austerity and charity and japa and this and that. And then he is saying, you have perfected the bhakti part. The bhakti with a perfection. Dishtya putran patin dehan swajanan bhavanani cha hitva vrinita yuyam tat yat krishnakhyam purusham param. By your great fortune, you have left your sons, husbands, worldly comforts, relatives, and homes in favor of the supreme male who is known as Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the gopis gave up their sense of possessiveness toward these things. History shows that gopis remained in Vrindavan, living in their houses with their families. However, unlike ordinary persons, they entirely renounced the egoistical sense of possession of sons, husbands, and so on. They never tried to enjoy them, but rather gave their whole heart and mind to the Supreme Lord, as recommended in the great religious scriptures of the world. Following the example of the gopis, we should love the Supreme Lord with all of our heart, soul, and mind, surrendering everything. Of course, cannot imitate the gopis. So it said they entirely renounce the egoistical sense. So egoistical means this is mine, that is mine. Possession of sons, husband, house, whatever they had, they just completely gave it up. Sarvatma bhavavadikrito bhavati namadhokshaje virahena mahabhaga mahan me anugriha krita. You have rightfully claimed the privilege of unalloyed love for the transcendental Lord. O most glorious gopis, indeed by exhibiting your love for Krishna in separation from, you have shown me great mercy. The gopis showed not only Uddhav, but the whole world the joy of love of Godhead, and thus they bestowed their mercy on everyone. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, because their loving devotion was executed in an appropriate way, their love brought the Supreme Lord under their control. Still, to show the intensity of their love, he apparently left them. But now he again manifested himself among them, becoming spiritually present through their intense devotion. So wherever we think of Krishna, he's there. He's right there. He's just keeping them unmanifested just to increase their love, increase their devotion. we can see how Srimati Radharani, it said she was in complete delirium stage. She has no control on her mind when she was talking about all these things. So Uddhavji further says, Shruyatam Dariya Sandeshu Bhavati Nam Sukhavaha Yamadaya Gato Bhadra Aham Bhartu Rahaskara. My good ladies, now please hear your beloved's message, which I, the confidential servant of my master, have come here to bring you. Shri Bhagwan Vacha, Bhavati Nam Viyogo Me, Nahi Sarvatmana Kvachit, Yatha Bhutani Bhuteshu, Kham Vayavagnir Jalam Mahi, Tathaham Cha Manah Prana, Bhutendriya Gunashraya. The Supreme Lord said, you are never actually separated from me, for I am the soul of all creation. Just as the elements of nature, ether, air, fire, water, and earth are present in every created thing, so I am present within everyone's mind, life, air, and senses, and also within the physical elements and the modes of material nature. So he's saying, I am everywhere. And it is true also. According to Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the apparently philosophical language of the Lord's statement conceals a deeper meaning. The Supreme Lord was secretly telling the gopis that he, by way of reciprocating their special love for him, was present with them, not only as a soul of all creation, but also as a special lover. In this sense of the words, the word guna indicates the gopis' special divine qualities, which attracted Shri Krishna, and the word sarvatmana, which we have been translated in reference to Lord Krishna himself, corresponding to the word me, which is also in this instrumental case, is also understood in the sense of sarvata, or completely. In other words, although in one sense Lord Krishna was absent, he could never be completely absent, since in his spiritual form he is always in the hearts and minds of the gopis. So he was always there. In Krishna Book, Prabhupada writes, Krishna separated himself from the reason Krishna separated himself from the gopis was to intensify their love for him. And as Uddhav noted, to bless other devotees by revealing to them the intensity of the gopis' love. In fact, the Lord was spiritually present with the gopis since they are his eternal associates. So spiritually he was there, just physically that gopis could see he wasn't there. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur further points out that foolish persons will conclude that Sri Krishna's use of philosophical language means that the Lord was trying to bring the gopis to the point of liberation by explaining basic points of Krishna conscious philosophy. In truth, the gopis are the most exalted, liberated souls, and their pastimes with Shri Krishna must be understood with the help of authorized acharyas. When the gopis came for the rasa dance, Shri Krishna tried to preach karma yoga to them, emphasizing ordinary ethics and morality. But the gopis were beyond that. Similarly, Lord Krishna now offers them jnana yoga or metaphysical philosophy. But this is also inadequate for the gopis, who have achieved spontaneous, unalloyed love for Krishna. So this is the position of gopis. So Uddhavji is further saying, Atmanyevatmanatmanam srije hanmaya anupale atma maya anubhavena bhutendriya gunatmana. By myself, I create, sustain, and withdraw myself within myself by the power of my personal energy, which comprises the material elements, the senses, and the modes of nature. Although the Lord is a supreme entity, there is no absolute duality between him and his creation, since the creation is an extension of his being. This oneness is here emphasized by the Lord. So further, Krishna is saying, Atma Jnana Maya Shuddho Vyatirekto Gunanvaya Sushupti Swapna Jagradbhir Maya Vritti Bhir Iyate. Being composed of pure consciousness or knowledge, the soul is distinct from everything material and is uninvolved in the entanglements of the modes of nature. We can perceive the soul through the three functions of material nature known as wakefulness, sleep, and deep sleep. Okay. It is clearly stated here that the soul Atma is constituted of pure knowledge, pure consciousness, and thus is ontologically distinct from the material nature. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that the word Atma may also be taken to mean the Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna. Since the Lord has just explained in previous verses that all material phenomena are expansions of himself, the phrase Maya Vrittibhir Iyate indicates that by studying this world deeply, we will come to the perception of God. From this point of view also, the gopis are advised not to lament. Not to lament. He's saying, I'm there, I'm with you. So, little more philosophy is there. Actually, I think I'm gonna ask to stop here because I'm feeling a little tired and cannot concentrate. I think we'll stop here. See, anybody has any questions or comments?
Please take rest, Guruji.
Yes, Mata. Chalo, you all have a safe and wonderful day.
Good
Hare
night.
Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Prabhuji, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.